Hey there gamers, welcome back to the Board Game Co channel, and today we have a preview of Die in the Dungeon. Hey there gamers, it's Professor Meg here, and welcome back to the Board Game Co channel. Today we have a preview of Die in the Dungeon by Rumiz Games. Now, this is a current Kickstarter campaign, so you can check out the link down below for everything that they have planned. This is a sponsored preview, and this is also a prototype copy in front of me, so all rules, components, things like that are subject to change. Now, Die in the Dungeon is going to be a solo or cooperative game where players are playing through multiple areas. So you are working with your codex of dice, where you are either upgrading your dice, sometimes culling them, sometimes just adding more dice, but you are manipulating what you have available to you, which is going to then become your bag of dice that you are using for combat, and you're going to do that to either accomplish 1, 2, or 3 areas. So at the beginning of the game, you can decide how long of a game you want to play. You can play through just 1 area, 2, or if you really want to build out your codex as much as possible and see how much there is to the game with the different levels, you're able to play through all 3 areas. So with that, we're going to take a look at exactly how this game will play, the actions that you're able to do on your turn, how you'll move through the dungeon, and ultimately what combat is going to look like, because that's what's going to be most important in this game when you have your dice pool available. Now, in front of you, I currently have an Area 1 setup for a solo player game. So we have Cinder here as our current character, and you are able to play this with other players, and all that would change is that you're going to have this combat area, which is unique to each player, and you are able to support other players, but you're primarily going to be facing off against enemies in your own combat area. Now, on top of that, there are a few decks here that are determined by the current area that you're in. So as you can see, we have ones here as well as in a few different areas, and those are going to change depending on the area that you are playing, but otherwise everything else that I'm about to go over is going to remain the same, except of course as you upgrade your character, when you're going on to future areas, you'll be stronger and stronger. Now, in general, players are going to have their own character with their codex of dice, and these are going to be the dice available to them in combat. So these dice I just have placed here so that you can see they represent the different cards that are placed here at the beginning of the game, but during setup, you're going to take all of these dice and place them into your bag. So you're going to see exactly how we use these when I go over combat, but I wanted you to see exactly how you would build out your starting bag. And as you upgrade dice, you will flip over these cards, but as you add them, you will grab the corresponding die, as you can see up here above the main board, and you'll be adding those to your bag as well. There are ways for you to remove dice, but more often than not, you are going to be adding them or upgrading your dice. Now, the rest of the player board I will go over when I go over combat, but everything up here, you're going to be activating these different things when you move on to the corresponding area. So this represents an Area 1 that we are playing through, and we're going to be going location to location. So during each turn, players are going to progress this marker forward and then activate the spot that is underneath that. So as you can see, you only have one choice entering into the dungeon, but then after that, it's going to split in 3 different ways, and then after that, players will always progress forward, moving toward the final boss. So you can never backtrack. As you can see, if we were to move down here and then across this way, we would now have a choice if we, this would have been here, we would now have a choice if we want to go to the right or to the north. So you can see that players are going to have branching pathways, but they're all going to lead them ultimately to the final boss. So you are going to decide which actions you want to do, and that may be what determines which path you take. But another thing that is going to be randomized during the setup is some of these spots. So as you noticed, we knocked over some of the tokens, and those ones are going to be placed during setup at the beginning of the game, meaning that this map is going to change game over game. Now, normally I go over the other actions that players have available, and then I do combat last. But as combat is first here on the map, I am going to go over it now because I think all of the other actions support what you're trying to do, because ultimately you're trying to get through this dungeon, and at the end of the dungeon is a boss. So whether you're completing that area or the game as a whole, if it's the final area that you are playing through, you need combat to be able to win the game. So I'll go over exactly what that's going to look like in this solo mode, so you can see a little bit what combat is going to look like, and then we'll go over all of the other actions that players can do throughout the dungeon. Now, one other thing to note is that the first combat of the game is different. It has specific rules where you are just facing off against 2 of these enemies and they give specific rewards. But I want to show you what these combat cards are going to look like and how they trigger. So instead of doing that, I am going to move us forward to the first combat. So this combat here would have us doing that, but I'm going to have us then progress over to this spot here, engaging in a normal combat so you can see what that's going to look like. So the sword is going to have me draw from this deck here, whereas if we had gone to one of these symbols, we would be drawing from this deck, and that's going to be the difference between these 2 decks here. Whereas the different enemy cards that are on this side that we're going to be drawing from are predetermined for the current area that we're playing in. So when we flip this over, you can see that it's these 2 symbols here, meaning that we are going to spawn first this enemy, and then this enemy here for us to fight off against. But when we are victorious, we are going to be able to gain those rewards there, which is going to be a personal die as well as 2 money. So here you can see that we are fighting off against a Red Hood as well as the Chrysanthemum, and they are slotted into these 2 different areas. There's also a bottom row as well, and this is going to be at your combat area. Now, if there were any other players, they would draw the same things, and you are able to support other players, but I'm going to walk you through how you would be attacking the enemies you're facing off against. So starting off, we are going to take our bag here, and we currently have 7 dice available, and we are going to draw 5 of them. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 available to us, and we are going to roll those. So we will roll them all and put them on their corresponding areas. Now, you know which dice they are by their color as well as the number printed. So as you can see, this is the pink one, but the white. So that's how we know exactly where we are going to be putting these dice. So we're going to place these out like this. And after that, we're also going to roll this die as well. So this is going to determine a few different things. Now, it rolled on a 6, but if this die were to land on a 5, 10, 15, or 20, it has a specific symbol where we would earn one of these as well, and a couple special things would happen for the enemies. But as things stand, this is currently at a 6, and it is our turn. Now, all of that setup was the prepare phase. So once all of that is done, we then move on to the play phase. And before allocating our dice to the different actions that we want to do, we are going to set our character to the particular row we want to be attacking. So there is a way for you to support and help other players if they're in your game. It's a little bit harder to do, and I'll show you how you would do it, but most of your dice are going to be allocated on your own, fighting off against one enemy. So as you can see, we are in this row here. If we wanted to attack the top row, we could go up here, and if there were more enemies, perhaps we would be attacking the bottom row, but I am going to have us attack this middle row for the Chrysanthemum. So it has 0 shield and 4 health, whereas the Red Hood up here has 1 shield and 5 health. They're a little bit harder to take out, so we might choose to take out the Chrysanthemum first. Now, they are doing different damages. We rolled a 6 for the Destiny die, which is determining the action that they are taking, where the Chrysanthemum actually has a weaker attack on a 6, whereas the Red Hood has a stronger attack. So there is a reason why we may want to attack the Red Hood, but I'm going to have us move on to attacking the Chrysanthemum. So with that, we have these dice here available to us, and one thing that we are able to do is boost. So with boost, you're able to distribute X, meaning the number that is currently rolled, to dice X spaces away. So when boosting, you are able to add those dice to other things. So we may choose to, for example, place this boost die here to add a boost to this area, and then place another boost die to add a boost to the same spot, because those are both 1 away, and we rolled 1 for both of those. Now, after that, we may choose to attack X to the target, which is currently 3, but we have both of those boosts. Now, if we were to do this, we would be doing 5 damage, but this Chrysanthemum has 4 health and 0 shields, and the Red Hood has 5 health but 1 shield, meaning that we would be overkilling on the Chrysanthemum, but not able to quite take out the Red Hood. So instead, for this boost, we may choose to do something else like block. So if we were to boost this spot over here instead, we'd be able to slot this block, and instead of blocking for 1, we would be blocking for 2 instead. Now, in order to place a die on your combat board, you need to have enough energy to be able to do so. So each turn players start off with 6 energy, and for for each number on that die, you have to spend an energy to place it. So for our first boost die, that's going to cost us 1 energy, and then our second boost die will cost us another energy. So as long as you have the energy to slot the die that you want to use, you're able to spend it to then place those die onto your combat board. We would have all of this progress forward, meaning that we would be able to do 4 damage total to the Chrysanthopillar. Now, if we were not able to take it out, we would be able to stack counters on it, but that is enough for us to take out this enemy. Now, it does have, when killed, deal 1 health to an enemy, meaning that it would have healed the Red Hood when it was killed anyway, so it's a good thing that we took it out. So we will kill that Chrysanthopillar and then gain our block. Now for the enemy's turn, the Red Hood, who is still alive in this current combat, they rolled a 6, meaning that for the Destiny die, meaning that they're going to deal 3 damage to us. So to show that, we're going to take damage here and go 1, 2, 3. So you can see we're a little bit worse for wear, and then after that, we're going to be placed down here. And then after that, there's also an end of turn ability. Now, as I said, if the Destiny die had rolled that particular symbol, it would do an additional thing as well on top of the number that it rolled. But now for the end of turn, the Cicada is going to deal +1 damage for each attack die you used this turn, max 3. Now we did only use 1, meaning that we're going to take an additional damage from this Red Hood. So these heal dice are going to be really useful for us in the future. Now, combat is also going to be augmented by things like potions and relics, so you are going to be gaining cards from these decks throughout the game, and that's going to augment what you're doing as well. So I'll go over what those are going to look like when we get to the spots where you would be gaining them, but just know that this is a time when you would be using those to also augment what you're doing as well. As Cinder, we also have this special ability, once per area, we may re-roll the Destiny die. Now, once per area means all of Area 1. So if we were playing a 3-area game or a 3-boss game, we would have this ability 3 times, but if you're only playing through this one map, you only have that 1-time use. So you really have to decide when it's most important to be doing so, and then once that ability is used, you will block it off to show that you used it. Now, the upside for players when that critical symbol is rolled on that Destiny die is that you're going to have special things that you're able to spend this on during combat. So when that is rolled, you will gain 1 on this track. Players do start off with 1, and you're able to trade it in either as 1 energy, 2 shield, or 3 health. Now, after the enemy phase is finished, you are then going to go on to a cleanup phase. So you're going to take all die, both from your codex as well as your combat board here, and place them over into your discard pile, and your boost tokens will be removed. Now, some die have abilities such as glass, where they're only able to be used once per combat. So when that happens, those die will be placed down into your exile area instead, but otherwise you'll place dice into your discard. This is when your energy will be replenished to 6, and for any tokens that you have on your board, you will then gain that respective slot. So where we have these 2, we would remove 1 and then gain the 1 armor for ourselves. After that, a new round will begin where first we will take our bag of dice. We will draw what is remaining. So you always draw 5 dice where we have only 2 in here. We will first draw these. Then your discard will be taken into your bag. When your bag is empty, you'll shuffle that around and then draw 3 more dice. So we'll draw those and then you will start off a full round again, re-rolling the Destiny die. Now, as you see, this was a 15 where it does have the critical symbol, so the respective things will trigger, where the Red Hood will have their critical attack trigger as well, and players will also gain 1 in that stat. Now, to finally show you how players will support other players, the 15 is where a dice will be placed to support another player. So, for example, if we were to roll a 2 for our block, we would spend 2 energy to be able to play that, and then we would slot this into specifically the 15 spot to then support another player instead. Now, when combat is over, players are going to get the listed rewards as well. So, for example, in this particular combat, we were able to gain a personal die and then a coin as well. So, there are white die symbols, and those are going to be personal die that you have available to you, where we have all of these that we started off with for Area 1, but you also have public dice that are available that you're able to choose from when that's a reward for you instead. So, depending on what it shows, whether it is a white die for personal or a yellow die for the public, you're going to take one of those and be able able to slot it into your codex for future use. Now, this book spot here is going to be an event spot, and that's when you're going to draw one of these cards, and all players are going to be able to make a choice. So, for example, this card is Fight or Flight. You see a group of tough-looking insects arguing in a distance. On closer inspection, some weird-shaped object is lying between them. Attack head-on, lose 3 health. Choose between 2 of the different relics, or run to grab them, lose 2 health, and choose between 2 potions, or flee and no reward. So you can see where some players might not be able to lose the health to take the reward, but otherwise if you're able to do so, you're able to get some special things for yourself. Now, the campfire spots that you see here more toward the end of the dungeon are where players are going to be able to heal. So you are able to heal 3 when you go to that area, or players can also choose to remove one of these black cubes, then increasing their health. So if you're playing a multiple area game, you may choose to want to really remove these. Otherwise, if you're getting close to the boss, you may want to choose to just heal instead, depending on what you have available. But that's how players are going to be removing these cubes here. Now, for the treasure chest symbol that you can see here, players are going to roll the destiny die again. So here where we rolled a 9, on a 1 through 15, we would gain 3 coins, or on a 16 through 20, we would gain 5. So either 3 or 5, it's still pretty great, we would gain 3. And if that critical symbol was rolled, we would gain a critical as well. So you can see where those can be really helpful for you to trade into other things and save them up during combat. But players are at least going to be able to gain money, which is going to help them be able to purchase different things. So the shop symbol is going to be this potion here, and normally these would be placed above this area here, but players will have the choice to purchase either the potions or some of these upgrades, and if it were the spot in the 3rd slot, they would gain a -1 discount. So players would have the option of 3 of the common potions or 3 of the different properties, and the properties are going to be all of these different abilities that you can see from these tokens here that can be added to your dice. So properties are going to be ways that you can enhance your dice, and as I said, they're going to be all of these different tokens here, so there are quite a few options for players to choose when that is coming out. But again, that is something that is all determined by the current area, where those are all area 1 tokens, and as you progress, those will also become stronger and stronger. So here we have a haste potion where it would cost 3 money, or perhaps -1 depending on where it was placed in the current shop. But for this, you're able to gain an energy, and on the destiny die, if it's a 5 through 15, you can gain an additional energy. So this is a way for you to be able to gain 2 energy, and if a player really wanted to use it, that may be a time that we would use our ability to re-roll that destiny die if we were hoping for something specific. So that's an example of the different potions that you are able to gain. And at the forge, you are able to do something similar, but for relics. So here we have our different relics, and you're able to either pay for these. As you can see, this one costs 5. There are 3 slots again, so you may perhaps have a discount for it. But another thing players are able to do for this particular spot when it happens in the dungeon is you're able to pay 2 coins to destroy a die. So you're able to completely remove it from your bag, remove it from your codex, or you're able to pay 3 to upgrade a die as well. So you're able to do both of those once per time that you encounter on the map, but when you upgrade a die, it's going to go over to its enhanced side instead, making it a bit stronger. So taking a look at this relic here, it's the shiny stone. Once per combat, add +1 boost to all targets of a boost. Now, when you use relics like this, let's say once per combat, when you are using them, you will then flip them over to show that they were used, and you'll gain them back at the end of combat, but that's an example of the relics that players are going to be drawing. Now, when players reach the end of the dungeon, so they would make it all the way to this slot here, assuming no one has died, because if anyone did die, you would immediately lose the game. But assuming everyone is still alive, you'll move onto here to face off against the boss. Now, the boss is going to be a little bit different from the other enemies, because everyone has access to be attacking the boss. And here you can see that it has 2 armor, but it has 13x health, meaning that it has 13 times the number of players, meaning that it has 26 health to take out the Chrysanthopillar Baker. So again, it's going to have the destiny die that it's going to roll determining its attacks. This one, when it comes out, it has an unprepare ability. Draw and add enemies until you have 2 Chrysanthopillar on your combat board, and then when killed, you're going to gain a public die, a relic, and 2 coins. So this is something that all players are going to be able to face off against, but as you can see, if we were playing this as a solo game, it only has 13 health when you are the only player up against it, so while that is still a huge amount of health, at least it does scale depending on the number of players, meaning that you should be able to take them out together by the time you reach the end of the dungeon as you've been upgrading yourself along the way. Die in the Dungeon is going to be a game for players who enjoy a cooperative dungeon crawling experience while also building out their codex of dice that they have available to them, because there are so many dice that are available both between your player dice that you have that are specific to the character that you chose and the public dice that you can win as well from different combat rewards, where you're going to be fighting off against different enemies and then going through these other things such as these events that present choices to you and trying to purchase things like the potions and the relics to make yourself as strong as possible, where depending on how many areas you want to play through, you're really able to build out your codex, where some of these spots, as I said, are having you upgrade your dice or remove some, and when you're doing that, you're really adjusting your codex to be specifically what you want to encounter, because you are drawing those 5 dice at the start of each combat turn, meaning that as you work through your bag, you can really determine exactly what you might be drawing because you want to craft your codex a certain way. With so many different abilities that players are able to tap into, each of the characters really do feel unique to each other, and this is a game that I said you can play solo or cooperatively, so even as a solo experience, it is very engaging and pretty snappy, where you are moving through with your bag of dice, relying on what you know you've put into this, hoping that what comes out is exactly what you had hoped for. So this has been a preview of Die in the Dungeon. You can check out the link down below for everything that they have planned. Thank you all for watching the Board Game Co channel. I've been Professor Meg, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!